Well, first I would say that we're very lucky to not have as much green screen as we could have. They built some amazing practical sets, and did you see the 20 minutes of footage?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, for instance, that safe house set was unbelievably beautiful, and everything you see there was built, and it actually did light up in the way that. So I was shocked because I imagined we would do everything just on a platform with green. So that was really kind of a gift from the creative team, and Joe Kaczynski, being an architect, really helped, build a world that we then could understand as the Tron world. And once I saw the sets, I really had an idea of this kind of non-organic space, and I could see how the lines of the roads would mimic the lines of the walls of the safe house, which would mimic the lines of the suits, and then the hair, the asymmetry. That was really fascinating. But with the green screen, I found that it was almost like returning to theater. You just had to use your imagination more than you usually do. On my TV show, we work in a set that has really been built out to look exactly like a hospital, and if you woke up there, you would think you were in a hospital, and every drawer is full of hospital equipment, and makes it quite easy for you to pretend when it's all there for you. So it was a challenge, but it was like going back to theater for me, and I actually think it's kind of wonderful because then you can imagine whatever it is you need in order to get you to the place, whether it's a place of fear or amazement. It's whatever you want it to be, which may be different for every actor. So I thought it was interesting. Well, it was an honor to wear those suits. I mean, it's totally revolutionary what they did. Weaving electroluminescent lamps through rubber and neoprene has never been done before. It was exciting because we were well aware that all these guys working on the suits were geniuses and really working to make something special. They didn't have to do it this way. It was an effort. They could have added it in CG. They could have just had tape and then added it later. And then what you would not have had was the amazing reflections of the lights, and how we had one scene where Garrett and I are in a hallway and we're lit entirely by each other's lights. So that was what made it all worth it, was moments like that. It added to every element, I'd say, just wearing those suits and seeing the lights go on. And so you knew they were going to be difficult to wear because it had never been done before. What I appreciated about them was that they were not merely, or I should just speak for my own, I guess, my suit was not merely a sexy kitten cat suit. It wasn't a black spandex thing. It felt like armor, and that's what I wanted it to be. I wanted her to be a warrior. I used Joan of Arc as a major reference point for Quorra. Joan of Arc fought in head-to-toe white chainmail. So at one point I wanted the suit to be all white because I thought it had to be a direct reference, but it didn't have to be quite so literal. It did help me, though, think about what the suit meant, and that just like chainmail is uncomfortable to wear for a warrior, the suit was going to be uncomfortable. And it restricted the way you moved, and it changed the way you walked and the way you would fight. But we got better at it as the days went on, and they got more comfortable, and it didn't take quite as long to get into them. But I remember the last day I took off the suit, and it was really kind of amazing to look at it and realize that for the past 4.5 months, I've been able to wear this thing and to be a part of the sculpture. And I'm sure Garrett was telling you, or probably Christine or somebody was telling you about how they created the suits based on scans of our bodies. So everything that went into it was really exciting. We also had these helmets. I don't wear mine much in the movie. I'm wearing it in the car that you probably saw in that footage driving in the dune buggy. It's a shame you didn't see that helmet more because it was built based on our bone structure. So everyone's helmet looked like a weird robotic kind of sculpture based on their face. And they were so beautiful. And you would just hold it in your hands and be like, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You put it on, you couldn't see anything. But it was like this reverence for all the tools that were being made for the film. And every department really felt like they were doing something revolutionary. So I felt that there was this pride that permeated the set every day. People were really excited. It wasn't another day on a movie set. Yeah, it was very different from anything I'd ever done before. And the process of playing someone who's not human is a little different, although you can't really approach it in that way. You can't think of this person as not having human emotions or certain human characteristics, because then I think people come out quite cold. I think that's also where the Joan of Arc reference really came in handy, because she seemed to be a part of a have one foot in another world, sort of unhuman in some way. So I approached the character trying to forget that it was sci-fi, forget that it was this iconic film, and just focus on her, what I thought she'd been through, and what points in history that I could look to for characters that might influence her. Joan of Arc being one. I did lots of research on ancient Buddhist warriors, on the Rwandan genocide. I mean, I took from everywhere. And it was a really fascinating process, really interesting character to prepare. In terms of other parts of the preparation, physically it was more challenging than anything I'd ever done, and so I really had to spend every waking moment that I wasn't shooting house training, which was new for me. And I think that realizing that I could physically completely transform what's new was something I had never done for a movie, and it informed who the character was. Once I knew what it felt like to have muscles, I suddenly thought, wow, this is what it feels like to be a warrior, to be someone who can protect themselves. And it was, I was walking home at night, and I remember thinking, if somebody jumped me, I think I could take them. And that's what Quorra feels like. She feels like she can protect herself, and that's one way in which she's different from me, how I usually am. So it was interesting also, the physical preparation was another element of that. And the preparation was really fascinating when it came to script development, because the creative team was really inclusive when it came to going through the beats of the script, figuring out if anything felt a little phony to any of us, breaking everything down, figuring out story points, character development points together, and allowing us to give as much input as we wanted. And that was really unusual for a movie this big, and it was really fun. We had a lot of great times sitting around a table in Vancouver with Joe and Jeff and Sean and Eddie and Adam and me and Garrett, just sitting around kind of breaking down the philosophy of the film and the questions we were asking, and what we could bring to it, and was this an opportunity for humor here, and of course once we were on set, that spirit continued, and that was unusual and really fun. It's all about chemistry. Okay. I think those screen tests are really valuable, because some people do have a certain energy with each other, and some people don't, and it was really exciting to be on the project from the very beginning, and so that I could be a part of the casting process of Sam Flynn, and that was something that was really exciting. We read with many actors, and Garrett was fantastic, and Garrett seemed to have a quality that made him believable as Jeff's son. They both have a certain uniqueness to their cadence and to their being and their energy, and it seemed believable. I remember the screen test with him that I thought, well, that went well, and then afterwards I went back behind the monitors, and the producer and director, everybody was just sitting there like, and I was like, what? They're like, the two of you on screen, it's so electric. And I thought, really? Well, it's something that's almost unconscious, because it happens, something happens in the camera. So that was really exciting. I'd say that with Jeff, I think that I give the credit to Jeff. I mean, maybe we were, confident enough to act opposite him and to bring our A game, but it was also Jeff being so giving and so patient and generous. And he became a real leader for us, a real role model, and on and off set. And so we learned lessons from him. You know, my character was supposed to have been with Jeff for hundreds of years in drawn time. So part of the preparation was also figuring out what connection they could have that would make it believable that they almost had a shorthand with each other. So that homework involved hanging out with Jeff a lot, which was great. But one of the things we bonded over was Buddhism and his Zen Buddhist beliefs, and specifically his Zen master, who's an amazing guy named Bernie Glassman. And he turned me on to Bernie, and then we had this thing to bond over that was really helpful for the film and helpful for life, and it's all about socially conscious, socially active Buddhism, which is really exciting for me. Anyway, so Jeff was just so great, so easy and warm and nice, and I didn't feel intimidated for a moment once we started working, but that's very cool of Joe to say.
¿Qué es lo que espera que haga?
Sobrevivir. Tu padre fue el creador.
¿Dónde lo encuentro?
Llega ya con vida y él te encontrará. ¡Aquí vienen!